So, back down the old track again. A bit of luck, the fish will be feeding when we get to the end. It's not too bad a track to hike down really, it's a bit undulating. It's a really old rubble and stuff down here. On the whole, it's all pretty good. Beautiful marshland to the side. Now just a long slog over the stones. Do you remember the days I used to push all these back up again, but it's long gone now. It's a bit of a drag at the end of that sort of mile walk. But there we are. Right, hopefully the sea's not too bad. Hope there's a little bit of a few rolling waves. Not a bad view, is it? Lovely place to be. So hopefully on this video, the old wind sound should be less. I remember the microphone, which does help. So, as you may have realised, the title of the video, we have a little bit of a competition tonight on some different baits. So, I will be using good old mackerel, not fresh caught. It is Morrison's finest. Other supermarkets are available obviously, but I'm going to go with the old good faithful mackerel. Whiting, love it. Flatties, love it. And I've also got some frozen ones I caught in the summer. We'll pair that up with our oils, and we tend to make this by essentially cooking up all the old mackerel heads and things and skimming off the oil for the ones in the summer. So try not to waste what we can. I do know people that liquidize the whole thing up and keep it frozen. I don't. Maybe that's something I can try next time. But the bait we are a bit of a wild card, something I've never used before, although I thought about it, are these good old garden worms. I assume these are just going to explode with the salt water and turn into mush when they get out there, but didn't have time to get lugworm, so I thought, what the hell, let's have an experiment. I mean, they're a decent size worm. I mean, they're not tiny ones, you know, decent ones. Plenty in the garden. So I thought we'll give it a crack. So stay tuned. I think what I'll do is I'll fish one rod on the mackerel, one rod on the worms. I've got two different rigs to try. They're both 2-hook rigs. One's got some beads on, one hasn't. So again, I'll flick and alternate between the two just to keep it fair. Yeah, we'll see how we go. But again, give the old garden worms a crack, eh? Lovely. Well, we've still got a little bit of sunshine and light. I just thought I'd take you through the rigs that we're going to be using tonight. I made these myself. You know, they're just made out of the same material that I use for my my shock leader. I don't know how well you're going to see them, but we'll give it a bash anyway. This one's taffel before I even got started. Keeper on these rig winders, these are just blinking brilliant, to be honest. Just stop all the taffels, make them up. I've got a box in there of about 30 of these, so you can make plenty of rigs in advance. So like I said, these are just two very simple 2-hook rigs. They sort of sit like that. And these are basically made with the boom. Now the boom is, like I said, it's all one piece of material. Essentially, you just make a big loop, wind it 8 times, pull the loop through the middle, and it makes this long boom when you tie it together. Now, the reason I do this is it makes changing out hooks really easy. So, as I said in the last video, you really need to make sure your hooks are sharp. Blunt hooks, you're just going to lose fish. It's just no point with it, really. And essentially, they just loop on and loop off. So you can open the loop, pull that hook off, and then pop a new one on. Really quick and easy to do if you needed to. I always run 4 rigs, so if I've got 2 rods, I'll have a rig out fishing, and the other rig that I've got in, I'll be baiting up and have that ready to go. So that's the first rig we're using. The second rig, similar sort of style, smaller hooks, but again, just a 2-hook rig. And I thought we'd go for a bit of bling on this one. I've actually put a few beads on it. And again, a little bit different. So I haven't done this one with changeable hooks. Just can't get the beads on as well, I don't think, and they don't move around. So it's the same rig. All I've done is cut one of the loops, and it basically undoes into a longer snood like that. And again, that clips onto my main line. Weight will go down the bottom. Smaller hooks, so again, I'm probably going to fish the worms on the smaller hooks, and the fish baits on the bigger hooks. Yeah, we'll see how they go. All being well, I'll be a fish or two. All right, so let's bait up some of these rigs. So we'll start with the one which is on those snoods. So I can show you a little bit closer what I mean. So it's all one piece of line, so there's not multiple pieces of line attached here. It's all one, and essentially you create these loops which are here. And these are a lot more rigid. They sort of kick the hook out. And then when you do put the actual loop through, so if I show you a little bit closer, how these sort of loop on and loop off. Carp fishermen out there will probably see this as the same sort of thing we use on multi-rigs. So essentially that loop just goes in through the back now, or through the hole. What I do is I go through the front, I don't go through the back. So if you were carp fishing, quite often people go in through, whip up and then back out. Same principle on this really. It goes in through this side, inside the hook where the point is. Reason for that is when this actually goes over the hook, like so, and you pull it tight. So again, slip D rig for carp fishermen. End up with a D here, and that'll go back and forth. When we pull that tight, it naturally kicks that hook. So if anything tries to get hold of this, it's pulling against the resistance of this bit of the loop. So I just find the hookups are much, much better on them. But that, my preference, that's what I do with these. They cost me next to nothing to make, because as I said, I'm making myself out of the same material that I make my shock leader out of. So we just trim this mackerel down like so. Just go in along the backbone. Looks like I need to sharpen my knife as well. Like so. Run that all the way down. Just fillet this off all the way down so you get just the other side of where the vent is. Then I push the knife all the way through and just follow that backbone all the way down. Bop, 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 till you get to the end. And then we should just be able to open her up like so. And then just straight through the belly. I'm not worried about the guts and stuff in this, to be honest. I'm not eating it. There we are. So that's one of our mackerel fillets for tonight. Now I'm probably going to be a bit selective first cast and all that, and go for the good stuff. So for me, I like the tail section. So we'll just cut straight across is fine, and some nice long strips. Just find nice long strips. Make sure that you've got some movement in the bait as you go, like so. And we're going to hook these on the same as we always do. So we go in through the meat side, we come out through the skin. Now I really do like to pull these up above the hook eye, so it sits like that. And again, with these looped knots, you don't have a huge knot at the end just to rip through all the flesh. And then I like to go back in through the meat side, out through the skin, like that. And then we just turn it, and then back through the skin side, and out into the flesh. It sits like that. And then as we just tighten this down like so, it all just locks that bait in, so it just can't come off on the cast. Sits nicely, flaps around, hook point's nice and clean. So we just get the next one done. Same as we did for the other one, so no changes at all. Go in through the meat side, out through the skin, put it all the way over, in through the meat side, back through the skin side, and then just tighten her up. Now this one's a little bit of a longer bait, longer hook on the smaller bait, but principle, if you can see, and then your hook points are nice and clear and ready. Let's get a weight on this, get it on the rod, and get her out. Right, onto the worm rig. So this is where this one's a bit different. So essentially where you had the loop before, all I've done is where it attached, I've just cut one of those strands of the loop away. Always leave a long tag end and it doesn't sort of ruin the integrity of the rig itself. And I've just slid on a few beads, and these are slightly smaller hooks, so again I was just assuming, not beads, worms, maybe the flatties will be about. And the worms I'm going to hook on the same as I would do any worm bait really. So we're going to go in through the top all the way through and just thread it onto the hook. So essentially we just keep passing it round, all the way round, all the way round, until we get to where the sort of, I don't know, maybe 3/4 of the way down. Just pull that up and then it sits like that. Nice wiggly tail at the end with some attraction. Do that again on the other hook. So again, just pick out a worm. Go in through the head end, through the mouth. Just being really careful with your fingers while you're doing this. Thread it all the way along the hook until you get all the way up to the end. Like so. Pop your hook out, slide that just over the knot. There you go. Works a treat. I do a similar thing when I go perch fishing actually, so they tend to go for the movement end and I always end up lip hooking the perch that way. So but like I said, never tried it sea fishing. I have a feeling they're probably going to turn to mush. There's a reason why people don't use these, I'm sure, but yeah, guess we'll find out. Right, so first casts did nothing. Neither of the baits caught. So what I've done is I have just covered the next rigs in oil. Both of them have got oil on. We'll give them a go. You can see the worms are not wriggling at all anymore. So I'm guessing that's probably why people don't use them. They die once you put a hook through them, which is probably quite obvious to some people. Cover them in oil and hope that maybe they've got some flavours and smells then. A little bit like you would do with frozen blacks. Sea doesn't look too bad. The sun is now starting to go down. I expect the whiting to turn up very soon. Well, I do believe it looks sandy, but that is a whiting, and it actually fell to the garden worms. So, well, I'm not going to say we found a bait worth trying that's outside the norm, but it's 1-0. Whoop! Right, let's get this one unhooked, get it back, get the next rig out. We'll see if this continues all night. Awesome. Okay, so that rod on the right looked like it was knocking a minute ago. Not entirely sure. I think it's probably worth reeling that in. Now that one's on the mackerel. So could be 1-1. Hook stripped clean. Absolutely nothing though. So what I'll do is I'll reel in the other rod. Give it another go. Let's reel in this other rod. It's not rattled, it's done nothing at all. It's untouched, but put some fresh baits on regardless. We'll see which one strikes first. My money's actually going to be on the mackerel this time, which feel is the light fades. I think the white's going to be out after the bigger baits, but we will see. Well, light's fading a bit now, but as predicted on that last cast, a bit of a right clonker of a whiting. Check that one out. Absolute belter. We'll get her measured up, I think. Right. Let's see what sort of stamp of whiting this one is. It's really thick. Its stomach looks full. So she is going, ooh, just a smidge under 33. So 32 centimetres that whiting. Absolute belter of a fish, that. Right, let's get the old rod back out, get some more in. So, it's definitely getting dark now. And both of these rods were just rattling at exactly the same time, so it says to me that there's definitely plenty of fish out there. Both stopped rattling now, so it may well be that the fish have managed to get themselves off, but I'm just trying to capture the bite on camera for you. That last fish we had, that 32, absolutely rattled the rod like crazy. If I'm honest, I was expecting more than a whiting. But yeah, it's a belting stamp of fish. Probably going to be here all night now, waiting to see one of those rattle. But yeah, if they start up again, I'll come back. I've just had a right old whack of a bite on that right hand rod. It's the worm rod, I think. Huge rattle on it. Sod's law, as soon as the camera goes on, end up motionless. I'm just making a coffee. Unsurprisingly, the bite went whack. The left hand rod's now gone a little bit slack as well, so I think there's probably a fish on both rods at the minute. Just going to leave it just a second to see if it materialises. Yep, that left hand rod's definitely got a bite, and that right hand one. Right, let's get these rods in. Wow, that is 2-1 to the garden worm, so not as big as the last one we had on the fish bait, but a fish nonetheless. Get this one unhooked, because I think, if I'm honest, there's one on the rod behind me as well, but we'll see. Alright, give this one a go. Well, the lead's not in. Something's dislodged it. Well, I think there's some in there. Whew. So indeed, there was. Excellent. That's 2-2, wasn't it? So perfect. Again, relatively small whiting. It's You know, nothing like the stamp of that last one, but still, they are a pretty fish nonetheless. I know people don't like them normally, bit of a pain, but wait, a fish flop. Yeah, just out here after a few bites. So no, lovely job. All right, so doesn't look like there's much in between the baits at the minute. So yeah, that's a good thing. Garden worms are free. So I just clip these rigs onto the quick clip on my main line and they're ready to go. Quick and easy really. Right, fish are obviously feeding, so let's go get these rigs back out. Okay, so we're still even Stevens at the minute. So we just had another one on the worm rig. We've just had this one on the fish rig. But what I would say is the fish rig fish are much bigger. So yeah, the worm rig's doing just as well with numbers. But yeah, down to stamp of fish, yeah, the fish rig's definitely doing better. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to swap the rigs over and fish different baits on different rigs. So essentially, you know that one with the beads is now going to have fish on, and the one without beads is going to have worms on, and just see whether there's something to do with the beads having a difference on it or not. But there, so a good quality of sort of stamp of whiting. I mean, this one, just for the record, is going, whoa, stop swiggling, 33. So yeah, nice stamp of fish that. All right, 4-3 to the worms. However, there we go. Just changed over those rigs. Just popped some mackerel on the one with the beads. There we go. Nice little flounder. Different species. Tell this is a flounder, not a dab, because if I rub my fingers up it, it's got some really sort of slimy areas going this way. A dab would feel rough all the way up from its tail to its head. So yeah, cracking. So that's now 5-3 to the worms. Hold on though. Oh, I tell a lie. That'd be 4-all to the worms. But kind of gave it away. We just had another fish on the worm rig as well. It's actually a better stamp of whiting. So it's 5-4 now. There we go. So plenty of fish. Worms are definitely working, you can't argue with that. So you never know. Maybe it's a decent bait after all. Well, it's all square. So 5-5. Just had bite on both rods, but nothing on the worm to show for it. But on the fish bait, this time another flounder. So again, it seems to be the ones with the beads and the sort of pieces of mackerel are picking out the flounders. I didn't get that with the worms, so interesting. I don't know whether it means anything really, but yeah, 5-5. Competition is really on now. I'm still intrigued to know which one's going to be the winner. Wow. Now the tables have turned, so double shot of white in there on the mackerel rigs. So that's now 7-5 for the mackerel. So it has finally taken the lead. Get these unhooked and back out. And I'm going to give the worm rod a reel in, see what's going on there. Let's keep you all up to date. It is now currently 9-6 to the mackerel. Actually, it's not. Another double shot, so it's actually 10-6 to the mackerel. So fish baits are winning 10-6 at the minute. I'm now going to flick around so that they're all on the same rig. So it seems to be the one with the beads is what seems to be doing more fish anyway. So yeah, I'm going to put them all on the same rigs, and that way we know it's going to be fair all the way to the end. So I have been alternating anyway, but yeah, 10-6. Wow, a little bit of a scores update for you. It's now 12:08 to the fish baits. I've just had my first flatfish on the worms, so little dab. So yeah, 12:08, both fishing one at the minute. Well, best laid plans and all that. Actually, just fortunately my head torch has died a death. Never mind. So I've just had a walloping great bite. I mean, a proper clonk of a bite. And it's just resulted in a really good whiting. So this one is actually, let me have a look, measure. So this one is, ooh, good old wiggle, 31. And on the other hook, we got this one. Woo. On the worms, so actually makes it 13 all at the minute. So all to play for. I've got one more cast and that one's 34, so really good whiting. I've probably got one more cast in me with no head torch, so gonna get the other rod in, rebait them, pop them out while I pack down, and essentially it's all on the last cast. Who would have thought it? But yeah, really pleased to see that the actual garden worms are working. So yeah, we'll see what the last cast does. Oh, well, this is not where I planned to do the outro, but yeah, head torch completely gave up the ghost. Thankfully, I've got the light on the back of the gimbal, so managed to get through. So, last casts. Both went out really well, and both of them pretty much instantly had bites. So, actually finished 14 for the fish, 14 for the worms. So, pretty good result, I would say, for the old garden worms. If I was going to have to pick a bait between the two, I'm still going to go with the fish baits. Although they caught the same number of fish, the stamp of fish for the fish baits was far superior to the worm bait. Also, we have more species with the fish baits. I think just all that oil coming out is just a better bait. That said, I'd probably try garden worms again, to be honest, in the future. Certainly if I couldn't get hold of any lug. Now, the only thing I didn't try tonight was the worm baits tipped with the mackerel, because it was one v the other. Might be worth a try. So next time I'm up, what I'll do is I'll pick out some more of those garden worms, and then I'll try tipping them with mackerel baits and squid baits maybe, and see which one of those is the preferred option. But yeah, definitely a bait worth trying. If you do, please drop me a comment. Let me know if you've tried them in the past or tried them in the future. And for those of you that don't know, we do have a Facebook page over at Places to Fish in Norfolk. So type that into Facebook. You can also join the group on that side as well. So I hope you enjoyed tonight's trip. I'm now going to get my hands washed, have a shower, and I'm going to head off home. So see you then. Take care.